Welcome to the Michigan Travel Show, a kaleidoscope of stories about the people, places, and events that shape our great state.
I'm over here in Morristown, New Jersey. It's about 20 miles by road, probably 10 miles, crow flies. But anyway, going to Washington's headquarters after he had to retreat from New York and a few other places as they regrouped for the fights after the 1776. They were not winning a lot of battles, but things changed later. Okay, cool. It's interesting. This is the National Historical Park. It was Washington's headquarters after the battles of Trenton and Princeton. Came here and quartered in private homes. I also built some log homes and some other things. Okay, I'm currently here at the Washington Headquarters Museum here in Morristown, New Jersey. Bust of George Washington. This place is a National Historical Park because the soldiers wintered here after a couple of victories over the British in the Hastings in 1779 in Trenton and Princeton. And of course they're having a lot of celebrations. We're getting ready to commemorate America's 250th anniversary. There was right here, entering the orientation Morristown, where America survived probably one of the worst winters ever. And the American troops stuck it out and became victorious 4 years or 3 years later, right here. And George Washington was leading the charge. There's some of the battlefield stuff, and they've got some cool museum stuff here. I've been impressed. There was King George versus General George, but had some films on the all the battles and war coming up, some of the cannons they used, some of the battlefields. It's amazing all the stuff that happened here in New Jersey. New Jersey became, truthfully, the battleground of the American Revolution. I did not know that. So I'm going to be taking a small, quick tour of George Washington headquarters he had here during the winter of 1779-1780, one of the worst on record. And the Southern campaign, like I said, it was battles that were fierce. The Battle of Saratoga that the Americans won, but and they won at Yorktown. Cornwallis had to surrender in 1781. That was the end of the war. And of course, Boston, the Battle of Bunker Hill. So this kind of a cool, small museum here. This was constructed by the Park Service in 1939 after the Depression, and they built it kind of looking like colonial times. And it's just a quick museum, and then it's kind of a staging ground to go to George Washington's headquarters. Here's what the musket, the powder horns, where they kept all their powder, and ram's horns and cow horns, and then also all the muskets, shotguns, all that other stuff they used. And then over here, the Washington Robichon Revolutionary Route National Historical Trail, going all the way through the 13 colonies, dividing American style. A lot of rich Americans at the time had many of these luxuries. They came to England, so having a war with them definitely affected the rich big time. But anyway, we will be going on a quick tour. Here's the building here, and we'll be going to the George Washington's headquarters here in just a minute. So that house in front of us is the Ford Mansion, where George Washington and his generals did all their military work during the winter of 1779. And tonight we are doing a little hike over to it. We have to have a guide take us. Here it is, the sign, Washington's Headquarters Museum, Morristown National Historical Park. They're doing a little bit of work, but here's the house right there. And we're gonna start walking over on a beautiful sunny day here in New Jersey. And there's that beautiful house right there. Oh, here we go, up this little hill. This is a hilly part of New Jersey. I just went over the West Orange mountain range there to come here. So it was pretty interesting. This house been here over 250 years. Well, they've taken good care of it and renovated it a few times. This is the only house that is still here that was here 250. That's where George Washington had his headquarters. Well, they wintered here in Morristown. Right there, there's General George, a big statue. This is a revered place for the Revolution.
With your mother being around the age of 12 or 6 months, along with sharing the same bed. This is what it's going to be like for the Ford family. They are reduced to 2 rooms. Now the 3 sons, they might come in from their room to have their meals with their mother and their sister. And right across the hallway is where those meals are going to be prepared. Now if you take a look into the kitchen, you might notice that there are a couple items missing. No microwave ovens, gas stoves, or electric ranges. Your only form of cooking is over the open fire by servants. Now, whenever I use the term servants, everybody gets a different idea of whom I might be referring to. So let's clarify. When George Washington is staying here, under his household, he has a paid African-American laundress by the name of Peggy Lee. Peggy Lee is drawing a paycheck from Washington's household, if you will. However, also with Washington is William Lee. He is an enslaved person under George Washington. So we could be talking paid employees or enslaved people. There's one more category that some folks forget about. Let's say you're over in England, Ireland, Spain.
Here's the kitchen.
Okay.
And
sure,
eating quarters.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome.
Cooking spot.
Okay, yes, no, understood.
Yeah, so they kind of...
Playroom. George Washington stayed here.
At the information to see what the actual date.
Slept on floors. Slept on floors. Yep.
Here is stayed from foreign countries. This would include the Spanish representative, Don Juan de Morales, the Frenchman, between the height of 6'2" to 6'4", but it's an optical illusion with the canopy over the bed. Take a look at one of the camp beds in the room. He is convicted, but on minor charges. It still gets him upset. And this is what basically would start him talking to the British side, if you will. Okay.
George Washington's office. Cool. Norway, where we came in. Washington's headquarters during the encampment in Morristown, New Jersey. The war room right here, where they checked out maps and everything. Yep, the war room. Pretty cool.
Supplies for the undersupplied army. June of 1780, the ice and snow have melted.
The plaque for this, Washington's headquarters. Washington made his winter headquarters at the Arnold Tavern, January 16th and 17th, now part of the All Souls Hospital. December 17th, he established headquarters at the Ford Mansion, now a maintained museum. There it is, the Ford Mansion. It's the Ford House now, it's the Ford Mansion, and it was George Washington's headquarters. Well, the troops wintered here in Morristown, New Jersey. And they have a statue here to George Washington, the father of our country. He was a rich American, a rich, Englander living in America, and decided to lead the fight to have American independence. General George, one of a true American hero. Awesome. Okay, there it is. America to Washington Association of New Jersey celebrates America's birthday, 1776 to 2026. Right here in front of General George. There's the official sign, the Ford Mansion in Morristown National Historical Park. George Washington headquarters during the Morristown winter encampment. Pretty cool. They say upwards of 30 people a night may have stayed in this mansion. But you do whatever it takes to win the war. So pretty cool. Yep. Pretty cool. It became a national park. The National Park Service became a National Historical Park in 1933. Yep. It's the museum they built in 1939 to commemorate and preserve the history of this area and the encampment and everything else during the Revolution. Cool. Yeah, beautiful park here. Really nice, beautiful mature trees, beautiful site. And Washington Headquarters Museum, built in around 1939 as a museum piece, was not here during the Revolution, but anyway, a cool museum to show the great things that happened, us winning the Revolution. Pretty cool. There's a large map of what was going on at that time. So we're over here in Morristown, and the British held New York City. So they could not come out here and attack because of the mountains here. And so that's why they picked this place to stay. And so the Brits were not going to come up over the mountains and attack here. So that was, like I said, 10,000 Americans, soldiers wintered in Morristown. But that's why they did. So all the things that happened, very interesting time. So yep, that's why he picked it, because of the mountains there. I went over that mountain to come from the Addison thing. So he went to Jockey Hollow, which is a little ways away, that had a lot of trees. Cool. On the ground here, Dan Island, York. All the battles were fought all along here. Pretty cool. Well, the Springfield and Connecticut Farmsbury in New Jersey were the last major wars in the north, and then it moved south. It's interesting. Success of the Morristown encampments. Yeah, they became a professional army after being near Morristown for the winter. And his army inoculated against smallpox. Changing landscape, cut down all the trees to build all those forts. Yeah, they cut down all the trees to make all the huts, supporting the cause. Divided loyalties, obviously, during the war. The impact of the war. A lot of patriotic citizens definitely here. That's the town jail. That's where you got thrown in if you didn't, well, believe in the war. Yep. Yep. Black soldiers fought for America, yet still had to go back to slavery. Yep, and there was a lot of questions about slavery during the war, to say the least. Oh, go ahead. Now, where the Continental. Kept getting less and less. What a Continental piece of paper. Not worth Continental.